Hollywood does kaiju, but do they do it right? You're watching Beyond the Trailers review of Pacific Rim.
Today, at the edge of our hope, at the end of our time, we have chosen to believe in each other. Today we face the monsters that are at our door. Today we are canceling the apocalypse.
Fanboys have been excited about Pacific Rim since it was first announced, which is no surprise as the film seems to be engineered specifically for them. That's because Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures have done what fanboys have always asked, and that's be faithful and respectful to the source material, here Japan's kaiju genre. Now, while one could argue that Hollywood actually started the genre with 1933's King Kong, it was inarguably Japan which perfected it, beginning with Godzilla in 1954, quickly followed by Rodan, Mothra, and even King Kong vs. Godzilla. Those foreign films even did well here in the United States, unheard of back in the 1950s and 60s, and still to this day. But while fanboys are excited for this modern-day kaiju film that also seems to draw heavily from anime as well, Japanese animation, another fanboy favorite, unfortunately Pacific Rim doesn't seem to be tracking well with the mainstream. Some of you pointed this out to me with alarm over the past few weeks, so I've been trying to figure out why Pacific Rim isn't clicking with the mainstream moviegoer. Because even if the mainstream moviegoer doesn't have an appreciation for kaiju or anime, isn't the idea of Transformers versus the Kraken appealing on its own? But as I looked at the posters and ads for Pacific Rim, I began to indeed notice a problem. And that problem is it's hard to tell what you're looking at. With monsters and machines that are both so ornate, it takes a few moments for scenes like this to really register and perhaps follow during the movie. Sure, this monster is cool looking, but where's his head? And there are two people manning this machine with their brains fused together? How does that even work, and why is it necessary? Make that ornate story logic too. But one thing we are clearly looking at is the work of Guillermo Del Toro, whose signature visual style may turn out to be more of a curse than a blessing. While he is the driving force behind Pacific Rim's faithfulness and respect of its source material, he's also the one responsible for all this ornateness, not to mention mainstream moviegoers could successfully argue that once you've seen one Guillermo Del Toro movie, you've seen them all. I mean, would it really be that jarring if Hellboy popped up here and punched one of these monsters in the face? Warner Brothers has a lot riding on Pacific Rim and high hopes as well. They've already given Del Toro the reins of their Justice League Dark movie and are considering Charlie Hunnam to play the Flash. But as for Legendary Pictures, who have been unhappy with their deal with Warner Brothers, well, they just left the studio for NBC Universal this week. So let's see what kind of goodbye Pacific Rim is.
So as I've been explaining, I'm really running behind on content because I'm getting ready for San Diego Comic-Con, which is mere days away. I leave for San Diego on Wednesday, and you can expect coverage to start going up that evening, West Coast time though. So I finally got to see Pacific Rim last night on Saturday. I apologize to everyone who's been waiting. I've seen all your comments, and here's my review. I saw it in IMAX 3D, and it was actually one of the best IMAX 3D movies I've ever seen in terms of the visual quality. And when I was watching it, particularly during, I'd say, the first third of the film, I was like, wow, Guillermo Del Toro, who has always been a great filmmaker, has really stepped up his game even more. I could totally understand why Warner Brothers would give him Justice League Dark. I feel he's getting to the level of like a James Cameron or a Spielberg or a J.J. Abrams in terms of being able to make and to be able to deliver a blockbuster. But can he deliver a blockbuster? I mean, as you'll see on Monday, talking about the box office, Pacific Rim looks like it's going to open in third place, and it just hasn't really connected. And when I was watching the film, I have to say I could kind of see why. First of all, I went with two people who are not comic book fans. They aren't like fanboys, and they thought the movie was ridiculous. And actually, one of them made a really good point. My friend said, I don't understand why they basically just had this, you know, when you break it down, it's just like a bar fight between a giant robot and a monster. When today's weaponry, the advancement of weapons has always been to get further and further away from the fight. You know, talking about drone warfare, snipers, traps. And when she said that, I thought, yeah, why didn't they create elaborate kaiju traps? You know, why get in close with them? So I'm not saying that you couldn't have done it the way it was done, but I think that needed to be addressed. Why they would change the tactics so much. And also, funny thing, on the way to the office today, I was walking behind some people who had obviously just come from the movie because they were talking about the Jaeger program. They caught my attention. And this guy was telling his friends, he said it was so overly complicated. Why don't they just make the story about, we have these big monsters we have to fight, so we developed the Jaeger program, and here's how it works. Why have the Jaeger program, have it be successful, then have it have a problem, then have to go back and revisit it? It's just overly complicated. And I would say this movie also suffered a little bit from overcomplicated in terms of how many cast members it had and how many storylines it was trying to show. And I think, I get worried about this for X-Men Days of Future Past that's coming up. You just can't have as many characters in a movie and expect people to connect with them. Because I didn't feel like connected with anybody here. I think the best actors were Idris Elba. I really liked the work he did. And the little girl who played, the young, I forget, the young, I think Chinese or Japanese pilot, from her childhood memories. That actress was very compelling. I think they did the best job because they were the most charismatic on their own. I don't think the script or the directing really allowed you to connect with anybody. I think you just can't do that. When you think of the big franchises of all time, very few characters. Star Wars 3, Indiana Jones 1, The Godfather 1, Michael Corleone. You just can't have this big a cast. I mean, it's just too far reaching. That said, I feel bad because I really wanted to like the movie more than I did. I love the world building. As I said, the visuals were some of the best I've ever seen. They were just absolutely outstanding. And it just had really a lot going for it. I really liked it. I liked so much of what I saw. But I guess at the end of the day, I think it might have been a little too anime and a little too, just a little too Japanese for its own good. Because I'm afraid to say when I watch a lot of, maybe this is because I'm an American audience member, but when I watch, like Akira and other films like that, I would say this is very much like Akira. I really, but I don't know, it's not as groundbreaking as Akira, so that's why it doesn't have the cachet. But, Akira also lost me a little bit towards the end, just becoming overly complicated. But Akira, less characters, so you connect better. It's I don't know. It's just, I guess it's just excess. It's what I've been talking about a couple of times with Warner Brothers, being a company that lets its creative people do whatever they want, and they often suffer for it. And I wish they would have somebody. I guess they're reluctant to clamp down or impose rules on the talent, but you have to, because when talent runs amok, nobody wins, including the talent. So that's what I would like to have seen happen here. Although on a side note, how fascinating was it that they had a Jaeger for each major movie market? You had China, you had Russia, you had the UK/Australia, and then you had America, which was China and America working together, or the Asian movie market and America working together. I thought that was great. And I will say, on a side note, on Charlie Hunnam, I don't think he's a good use for Warner Brothers, at least based here. I know I'm talking about the fact they were thinking of using him for The Flash. I think he has an accent in real life. He's not American, and the way he puts on an American accent, I think creates distance. It doesn't seem natural. It has kind of like he's telling a story, like it's a story voice. It just doesn't ring true to me, and which is too bad, because I think he had a lot of heart, and I think he sold a lot of scenes, emotionally. But then when he opened his mouth, he just, I took a step back. So that's what I thought of Pacific Rim. A number of you have been asking me to give ratings, some kind of rating system. I'm very reluctant to do that because, at the end of the day, it's my opinion. Movies are judged by awards and box office, because everything else is in the eye of the beholder. But, I guess, if I were going to grade this movie, I guess I would give it a solid B. That's what I would say about Pacific Rim. But if you are a fanboy and you like Japanese, anime, and you like kaiju films, and you just also, if you really appreciate IMAX 3D, go see it. You'll have a nice time. But otherwise, I think you might find yourself a little bored. So those are my thoughts on Pacific Rim. Thank you for your patience, and please, I hope you'll stay tuned for Comic-Con coverage coming just like 2 or 3 days from now. Okay, bye.